Hey retro gamers. Today on Smashing Bricks, it's the dream fight with the Dynamite Kid, Iron Mike Tyson, in Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. Welcome to episode 4 of Smashing Bricks, a retro gaming podcast. I'm your host, Eddie Inzauto, and today I'm joined by my old friend, George Brandeis, who you may know from the old school column on GamerNode.com if you've been following for that long. George has been playing video games since before I was born, probably. George, what's up? How you doing?
I'm doing fabulous, Eddie. Thanks for having me on today.
Yeah, no problem.
I guess in terms of my background, I don't really have any expertise or credentials, only than life experience. But yeah, I've been playing video games probably as early as 4 years old, and I was born in 1982, so that's going to cover about 35 years worth of gaming experience.
Nice. The school of hard knocks from the streets of Nintendo.
Yeah, I guess going back, I could even lay claim to Atari and Coleco and the old school arcade that doesn't really exist in too many places anymore.
True. Nice. Oh, we should also let everyone know your online gaming handle.
Oh, Second Lieutenant N?
Second Lieutenant N.
My Twitch handle.
Almost Captain N. That's how
it's
good George is at video games.
Paying homage to the Captain N, the Game Master cartoon from my Saturday morning cartoon era childhood.
Nice.
Definitely one of my favorites.
Cool, man. So today we're going to be talking about Punch-Out, and that's either Mike Tyson's Punch-Out or regular Punch-Out. But this was a big-time game. I feel like it's one of the greats of all time. When you hear Punch-Out, you think like, oh yeah, epic all-time game.
Well, just recently playing it, a lot of the Nintendo games, when you play them now, get boring pretty fast. They're just what was exciting, in the 80s and early 90s. It rarely does it, but Punch-Out, the mechanics of it are kind of impressive that they kind of hold up through the testament of time.
Nice.
I think that's the most impressive thing about it.
All right. So we'll get into all the details of that a little bit later, but let's just start out now. I'm going to do a quick history of Punch-Out, where this game came from and where it has gone to. So it started out, there was an arcade version actually, where the perspective was a little bit different. You were kind of behind the protagonist and you could see through him. And it was different in that it was more randomized in terms of what your opponents would do. But as for this game on the NES, this one was directed by Genyo Takeda, who did some of the early games like Popeye. This game, he was part of Star Tropics. He later worked on Super Punch-Out and Pilot Wings and a bunch of games. And he was instrumental in the Wii coming to market as well. So he was a big time guy with Nintendo. The plan for Punch-Out was to bring it to the NES, but the NES was kind of weak compared to an arcade machine, so they couldn't do all that fancy wireframing and transparency as they had in the arcade. So they decided to just make him small and position him lower on the screen, and that's how quote-unquote Little Mac was born. Originally, there was a version in Japan before Mike Tyson was even attached to it. Did you know this? Did you always think that the Mike Tyson's version was the very first version and then it went to Punch-Out?
I mean, I was aware of the arcade game. I had played it as a kid. I mean, I think being as young as I was when I played it, I think seeing the wireframe guy and not really fully understanding what I was doing, I always thought that the green wireframe guy looked more like a monster. And in my young 3-year-old head, I always thought I was actually controlling the opponent, and I was trying to beat up the wireframe green guy.
That's awesome.
So I didn't really know what was going on with that one, but it's a very vivid memory because it's such a distinct game.
Yeah, that's so funny. Because I could imagine that. That just seems like such a kid way to look at it.
Yeah, the wireframe guy looks scary.
So even after the arcade, though, Nintendo made an NES cartridge simply titled Punch Out, and they manufactured it on a gold cartridge and only made 10,000 copies, and it was specifically made as a participation prize or gift for a Famicom Golf US tournament in Japan. It was for the US
Weird.
course in September of 87. So they gave these out to anyone who participated in this golf game tournament. And that was just a punch out, the same punch out that ended with Super Macho Man instead. It was only afterward that Nintendo of America president Minoru Arakawa saw Tyson actually fighting, and he decided that this guy was great and he wanted him in the game to kind of, help boost sales. So Nintendo got in touch with Tyson. They paid him $50,000 for a 3-year deal for his name and likeness. And supposedly the deal was made before he became champ, even though he was champ when the game came out. And then that game came out in 87. I tried to figure out what fight Arakawa went to, because how it was always framed in whatever I read was Arakawa was so impressed with like how fierce and skillful he was, and I was really curious which fight it was that he saw, but I couldn't figure it out. Couldn't find that info.
Yeah, I was speculating that it would have to be like one of his championship W's, but who knows?
Yeah. And a lot of his fights were like in upstate New York in the beginning and like Atlantic City. So I thought it might have been like one fight where he went out to Las Vegas because, Nintendo being in Seattle. But whatever, that doesn't matter for the game. So the game with Tyson released in October 1987 in the United States, before the Japanese release in November, and then the PAL region release in December. And just in 1987, like by the time 1988 hit, it had already sold 2 million copies, which was the most of that year, except for The Legend of Zelda, or right alongside The Legend of Zelda. I don't know if they had specifics, but those two were the only ones to crack 2 million. That's a big year, though, right? Legend of Zelda and Punch Out both were in 1987.
Surprising, because my impressions are that overall, although Punch Outs have this longevity, it's not like the 1, 2, 3, or 5 ranked in terms of sales or popularity throughout history. So that's pretty impressive, actually. It was marketed heavily, though. I can remember seeing images of, it's interesting, like I remember images of Macho Man before I saw images of Tyson. I'm not sure if it was in the Nintendo Power, like the first one, or if it was in those tester Nintendo Power magazines that were sent out to me beforehand.
The Fun Club News.
Yeah, that's what it was called.
Yep.
I wish I kept those. Those would have been cool.
Yeah, I wonder if they had like sort of advertising materials already set before they added Tyson. They're like, well, we might as well just use it.
Yeah, I definitely can remember seeing images of Macho Man before Tyson. Like, I can vividly remember him being in the pose where like he had just been stunned from a punch.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't remember all that, but I remember Tyson. I think Tyson did commercials for the game, though.
It's very possible. I mean, I can't think of any, but
I might be remembering like a soda commercial, though, like a Pepsi commercial, and just conflating the two.
I remember seeing in one of the magazine ads where they were talking about how to fight Mike Tyson and how to actually beat him and all the clues.
Nice.
But they weren't really good advice.
Well, we'll get to some good advice later. But as far as the rest of the game's history, we had it re-released again on the Nintendo in 1990 without Tyson, because that was the end of the 3-year deal, which was conveniently before Tyson's trouble with the law.
Hmm.
And that was basically the same exact game, and they just recolored Tyson and put a different corner photo and like some different profile information for him. Same game though. Then the game
Yeah.
was later released inside of Animal Crossing on the GameCube in 2001 as like a game that you could find and play in your home in Animal Crossing. Then
Cool.
on the Wii, the 3DS, and the Wii U Virtual Consoles in 2007, 2012, and 2013. Then on the NES Classic in 2016, and finally the Switch Online in 2019. So it's been on a lot of stuff, and the cartridges went on to sell over 3 million units, which ended up being something like, I think, 17th is what I recall seeing of all time. So, like you said, it wasn't like the biggest seller, but so many millions more in re releases. Like the NES Classic alone sold 3.6 million units. So, if you count each
Mm.
one of those as a sale of Punch Out, that's a lot, plus all those virtual releases. It's crazy by the middle of.
It's had good staying power. I mean, not every franchise. I mean, it's had what, three, four iterations of it.
Yeah, I mean, if you count the arcade game, then there was the Nintendo version, then Super Punch Out for Super Nintendo, and then there was another Punch Out for the Wii.
Yeah, yeah, and the Wii. I've never played through the Wii one, but I've watched a lot of it. You know, a lot of sometimes franchises die out.
Yeah,
I mean, when's the last time you've seen a Mega Man?
I don't even know.
Yeah, I mean, that was a pretty popular franchise.
Oh, so there was also a Game and Watch Punch Out before the Nintendo version.
Hilarious.
Yeah.
On a watch?
Yeah, Game and
Oh,
Watch Punch
God.
Out slash boxing.
I'm sure that was pretty bad.
Not on a watch. You know, the Game and Watch, it was like the little rectangle pre-Game Boy, like one of those Tiger electronic type things
Oh, God.
before
I
those.
mean, those Tiger games are pretty painful, too.
But that's essentially the history from Punch Out to I guess it's called Punch Out, the newest one. And I guess with the history out of the way, we can get into our history. So, you already started talking a little bit about it, but what do you remember about your experience with Punch Out? You know, any stories surrounding your play of
um,
it, whatever you have.
I mean, definitely as a young kid, it was heavily marketed. Like, there was just a lot of imagery of it, even if it was just like small little, like that image of Macho Man being stunned is like something that sticks out with me. Mike Tyson itself, that cover, I feel like that cover was very prevalent in the magazines a lot too. I would see that Mike Tyson's Punch Out cover case a lot. It just it was a very well known game throughout the Nintendo owners for sure. Um, I didn't even own it. I but strangely I played it quite a bit. I would rent it frequently.
Mm.
Um, but I only owned it later in life, but even without owning it, I'd beaten it. So I played it quite a bit. It was just a very familiar game, and it was heavily marketed. So it's just like it was one of those games that was honestly, I think, as like commonly known as like a Mario or a Zelda or a Metroid of its day.
Mm. So you did beat it as a kid.
Yeah.
Nice. The true second Lieutenant N shows his colors.
I mean, it took a while, but like that, the game was a bit of a grind as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
There were definitely several walls that I would hit,
Same.
and Mike Tyson was definitely one of those walls.
Yeah, I had a lot of difficulty with certain characters along the way and got stuck for a long time until later I was able to defeat Mike Tyson. And I always felt really proud of that because of how people talked about how it was like impossible, quote unquote.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, that's a good badge of honor right there as a gamer, I think. Like overall, that's definitely one of the hardest achievements, I think, of like any
Mm,
kind of game that I've beaten. He's a tough final boss.
yeah. I've got some interesting details about him for later that I haven't tested, but it's really curious nonetheless.
I think also to note too is like beating him with, because the password to get to Mike Tyson was pretty common knowledge and easily memorized.
Mm-hmm.
Beating him with the password happened before I ran through the whole game and beat him without the password,
Ah,
which
yeah.
which is like a separate achievement, I think, too.
Right, right. Yeah, because you could just put in the password and go straight to him and try over and
Yeah,
over.
yeah. That's definitely how I did it the first time.
Yeah. So my experience was kind of like yours in that I didn't own the game when I was a kid. I borrowed it from my friend Bobby all the time, like as much as I could. And I played it, the Mike Tyson's version. And you mentioned the cover art of him punching the guy across the image. That
Hmm.
is really like burned into my brain. I could
Yeah,
pick that out
exactly.
like in a small collage from like 10 feet away, I'm sure.
Hmm.
But yeah, I played the hell out of this game, even without owning it. And kind of like you said, it was tough to get through as a kid. There was a lot of figuring stuff out. I definitely hit a wall at some of the opponents in as soon as the major circuit. And then obviously each one started to be like a new challenge and a new, almost like a puzzle to figure out before you could finally do it.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. So we replayed part of the game for this conversation. And we're going to see how it held up, what we think, and how it compares to kind of our thoughts from or our memories from childhood. So, Mike Tyson's Punch Out, you start out, you got that music, you're greeted by either Tyson or Mr. Dream. You go to that title screen, and I remember loving the title screen as a kid. And I still do. I love how when you just start and it punches through the screen. And as a kid, it always felt like, yes, this is so cool. I'm about to start something awesome.
It's not just the punch through the screen, it's the timing of the punch along with the music. Because the
Yeah.
music intro is it's freaking awesome.
And then you go straight into Glass Joe. You're Little Mac. You're from the Bronx. You're 17 years old, 107 pounds. You've got your trainer, Doc Lewis, who looks like an old Joe Lewis, kind of. And you're there fighting this 38-year-old guy from Paris, France, Glass Joe, who looks like he's afraid to be there. And this kind of starts teaching you the game. So what did you find fighting Glass Joe? What is the game trying to show us here?
I think the game's pretty interesting because I've ran through it like 3 different times in my life. At least 3 different phases, I would say, that I've played this game through. And I guess if you're playing Glass Show as a first time as a little kid, you really don't know what's going on, and you're totally not picking up on a lot of the references, like, and the humor, because there is a lot of humor. The cool thing is, though, all these characters, when you're a kid, seem like larger than life, and I feel like they get into your head more
Yeah.
and intimidate you more. But as you get older as an adult, like that goes away a lot. But I don't know, Glass Joe that is literally you get to just press all the buttons and figure out the controls, and because you can literally beat Glass Joe by just smashing. He's like the only guy you can just button mash and pretty much win the game.
Mm.
You don't have to dodge. You can take his hits and just keep punching.
Yeah, he barely punches, right?
And he doesn't block well, so like you can just barrage him, exhaust yourself. Like I feel like you learn how to block, so you'll be tired and block some stuff. And
Yeah. We also learn, though, how to like go high versus low, because if you punch Glass Joe a couple times in the face, he'll then lift his guard. Then you have to go punch him in the
yeah,
belly, and then he'll drop the guard. But
yeah,
I never knew this until like 2 days ago. You can manipulate his guard. So
oh
you
yeah,
hold up and he lifts his hands up and you press, you to punch his stomach. And then after you hit him a
Yeah.
couple times, you let go of up and he'll put his hands down. Then you punch him in the face again. Then you
Yep.
go back to
Yep.
build.
That's like high level though. That wouldn't be my little kid interpretation of it. That's like the adult advanced version and read through the game.
So basically, you just kind of learn that they can block, they're going to throw punches at you, try to punch them where they're not blocking, and learn to dodge and punch. I think that's what Doc Lewis says is like, dodge is punch, then counter punch. What I
Yeah.
tried to do in this playthrough was not just beat everyone instantly, like with my current skill. I would like try to drag it out and see how the second round went and maybe the third round.
The patterns do change a little bit, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
They'll open up differently. The other thing that Glass Joe does introduce you to subtly is that, a lot of the characters have like a stupid, crazy move that they do.
Mm,
And he also has a weak ass move where he jumps back and then comes forward. And if you time it, you can knock him out in one punch.
right,
Kind of hinting like, yo, they all kind of have this crap.
right.
But I don't even think that he teaches you how to dodge because you can beat him without learning how to dodge. Von Kaiser smacks you up
Oh,
if you don't
interesting.
dodge.
See, when I was a kid, I basically never blocked. Would you use the block much? Because you mentioned it already.
I feel like I was using volume. I was just like,
Oh, just raging bull on him.
yeah, volume. Even like not doing a good job of adjusting high and low. Like I would just punch his block a lot and then he would drop his guard anyway and then punch his face.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
volume fighter.
That's awesome.
Inefficient volume fighter.
I did discover though that if you go through and punch him without hitting his guard, the first time you knock him down, he's down for the count.
If you perfect it,
Yeah,
nice.
that was that manipulating the guard thing.
Mm.
So yeah, that's Glass Joe. Oh, and I guess we kind of didn't really talk about what the game is. I mean, you kind of expect people to know, but they probably, there are probably some people who don't. So it's basically you just fight like 20 guys in a row, and each fight is a 3-round fight, and you have 2 health meters, which they call stamina meters, and you have hearts, which kind of represent your will to fight. And if you have 0 hearts, you can't throw punches and you look all exhausted and you kind of have to dodge to get your strength back. And you're going to lose those hearts either by being blocked, by being hit. If you're hit, you lose 3 of them. If you're blocked, you lose 1 of them. And if they dodge a punch, you'll lose 1. And then you also have stars that you can get from hitting the enemy either on a counter punch or if you like delay and hit like what they call effective punches. And that will get you stars. And then you can use the stars to throw what the game calls uppercuts, even though they're more like a right cross, but they're like a super punch. And then these things reset between rounds, and you can either win by TKO, 3 knockdowns, or by KO if you get what I always thought was lucky, but apparently there's rules to when a guy gets knocked out. Or you can win by decision in some cases. And that's not up to points like boxing, but up to your score as far as landing punches throughout the match or knocking them down. You'll get extra points. And there's a threshold, which we can talk about this also as we go. So yeah, 3-round fights, and you move on. So our second fight, we go on to fight Von Kaiser. You said that Von Kaiser can mess you up.
I think Von Kaiser's the first guy where you actually have to learn how to dodge.
Okay, yeah.
I don't think you can, because if you just try to barrage him with punches, he's going to block pretty much everything.
Oh, true. Yeah, I remember, I have like that image of him always holding his belly when you try to punch him.
belly or the face block he's good at.
Yeah.
But he's also a fascinating character because, like, as you were talking about counters and like the higher level stuff, he leaves you so many opportunities to get stars on, and I think of all the characters, he's one of the guys that you can beat the fastest.
Yeah.
He's so fast to beat because Like, unlike most characters, you stun him once and then super punch him and he always goes down.
Yeah, yeah. Instead of just being in a normal stun situation, his face just starts going crazy. He's like, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, when you do the super punch to
And
his
then you punch him and
face.
he's out. But yeah, he definitely is the introduction to the super punches. He gives the most stars and he rewards you the most for super punching. I love fighting
For
him.
sure.
Every single
Yeah.
punch that he throws can be countered.
Yeah. It's fun countering that quick jab by hitting him in the gut. It's tricky, but once you get the timing of it, you're just like free start, free start, free start. I love don't even not stunning him, just hitting him with as many super punches as I can without knocking him out. Just a rack of points. It's more vicious when you just are like super punch, super punch, super punch, like recklessly.
My technique with him was always, maybe not always, but pretty early on, was just to get a star, dodge a punch, counter once, throw a super punch. He comes back, immediately counters first punch, dodge the second one, punch him once, super punch.
Yeah. That's the clean speed way to do it. I find as I'm like better at countering now and can find more and more holes, and like I just steal stars and just love punching them like with super punches recklessly. I do that to the next guy too, Piston Honda.
Piston Honda's our champ.
He's good for punching on him.
Yeah, so this is actually a good point to revisit the sort of heart system. The first two enemies, you start off the fight with 20 hearts. And Piston Honda, he's a little bit tougher, but now all of a sudden you're getting 50 hearts. And interestingly, the next fighter, you're only getting 10 hearts, and the next one only 9, which is really interesting. How do you... I never even really paid attention to this at all, but now I'm sort of realizing that this is sort of part of the challenge. Like, this is the puzzle. Each one of these enemies is sort of designed as a specific puzzle challenge to overcome, and the hearts seem like they were a very intentional part of it. What do you think?
Yeah, it has to be because the range is all over the place. We were noticing and discussing prior. I mean, it's funny with Piston Honda because I feel like they're giving you a cushion.
Yeah.
Because you know his bull charge, like if you're not able to counter it, you're pretty much going to be blocking those punches.
Right.
But even so, you're probably going to absorb 5 hearts and they're giving you 50. They're very generous for this one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess it definitely comes down to that piston punch. It's just if you're not hitting him, you're always blocking. Is exactly right.
Yeah.
And he throws those quick jabs. You might want to block instead of dodging. Although he only throws one at a time at this point, so you don't really have to block it.
Yeah, they're pretty juicy. You punch him in the gut and get a free star. He gives you so many free stars too, and he's another guy that I love like being reckless with and just power punching him as many times as I can.
Just seeing how you can creatively beat him.
Yeah, essentially. It's like it's overkill, honestly. And I'm so reckless with it, like sometimes I'll miss the power punch and get hit, but it doesn't matter. It's like whatever.
Another interesting thing about this guy is, so in the manual, which we didn't really talk about, but in the manual, like most Nintendo manuals, you kind of get some interesting hints and pro tips for the game. So it says in the part where you are told how to win a fight that you can win by decision, but, quote, watch out for unfair hometown decisions against Little Mac. And this is a fight where you can't win by decision, this first championship fight. And I don't think you can win any of the championship fights by decision.
Yeah, I remember, I want to say it was like there was a Nintendo player's manual of some sort. It was all black. It was an old one. But they talk about it in that manual, and they tell you how many points you need for each fighter too, and which fighters you can't win by decision.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got all those numbers, and it's really interesting to see how they're different.
Yeah.
Even the difference between Glass Joe and Von Kaiser is a lot. Glass Joe, you only need 5,000 points. And you get points by landing a punch. And each punch is worth, what is it? I don't know how much. 10?
10, I think. I think it's 10. But a knockout's like 1,000. But the super punch, I think, is 500. That's why I love winning
Yeah,
those
it's
super
extra
punches.
points for knockouts and for the super punch. And even it said for effective punches, punches that get you a star also give you a little bit more points. But so for Glass Joe, the decision threshold is 5,000 points. And then for Von Kaiser, who we've already said is like a lot easier to get stars off of and to super punch and all that, jumps all the way up to 8,000. And apparently, I don't know if this was in that magazine you're talking about, but I just noticed it online today. Each of these opponents has a number of knockdowns at which point they will stay knocked out. Like if you knock down Glass Joe a total of 5 times, you're guaranteed a knockout. Or 3 times for Von Kaiser, 4 times for Piston Honda.
Oh, wow.
Do you ever remember seeing that?
No, I've never seen a list with this set number of knockouts.
Yeah, I didn't get to test
because I mean,
it.
honestly, if you can only get X amount of knockouts, can you even hit that decision threshold
Right.
easily? Or is it realistic? Or is it just basically you're always going to knock this guy out?
Yeah, certain guys it seems like you're much more likely to go to decision with. There's one specific guy who I've gone to decision with more times than every other opponent in the entire game. We'll get to him later. So we beat Piston Honda, right? And we get our first famous little scene.
Little Mac chasing the trainer there.
Yeah.
I don't know what it Doc. And the stupid music that's sort of annoying and irritating plays in the background. I mean, he looks like a Rocky figure running and chasing Doc on the bike.
Wearing his
with
pink
New York City in the
tracksuit.
background, the New York City skyline. I think that's what it's supposed to be.
Yep.
And then they bust out the password to let you go into the next circuit. It's always kind of a goofy.
To me, that's like iconic, though.
It's definitely, and it's something you're sort of forced to watch.
You can't skip it. Oh, is that why it's annoying? Because at this point, you've seen it 1,000 times and you have the code memorized.
No, it's just that certain music from the Nintendo is irritating, and I would totally put that song in the irritating
I
column.
get you. Okay.
I mean, it's okay. It's definitely iconic, but like you said, it's whatever.
Anyway, we move on to the next circuit, and we fight Don Flamenco. Now, there's a guy who can block.
He's annoying. He's definitely the corniest character in terms of persona.
Yeah.
He's like the narcissist. Once you learn the trick to beating him, it's rather satisfying beating him. I always enjoyed beating him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love beating him up because I hate him more than probably anyone in the whole game.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah,
he's just so unlikable.
Yeah, exactly. And even his style is like you want to punch him because he eggs you on with his come on,
yep.
And then he blocks it. He's rather annoying.
So he'll block every single punch that you throw at him, unless you dodge his big uppercut first. And then the trick is, which I didn't know in the beginning, I just kind of learned it much later, that all you have to do is go left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, and he goes down. You punch until he's knocked down.
I think, honestly, I discovered it by accident because I had gotten into a habit of left-righting a lot of the other guys when I had learned how to dodge and then punch.
Oh, okay.
And I just kind of discovered it by accident because it's such an easy one.
Yeah, so it's interesting. The manual says that Little Mac's left punch is a little faster than his right, but it's not quite as
Mm,
strong.
mm,
And I I would sense that sort of intuitively as a right-handed person. Like a jab is your faster punch, your right cross is your stronger punch. But I
mm.
couldn't actually tell the difference in how much energy was coming off of the opponent's hit bar. Even when I like sat there and tried to pay attention and say, does this really take more damage than the other one?
I feel like I've read that exact line that you've read before with that left faster but weaker and right vice versa. Yeah, and I feel the same way. Like I don't know. I feel like I would get into modes where I'd just use one hand and just use the other
Uh-huh.
hand. Like I never felt like either one mattered.
Yeah, it never seems like for a given opponent with a given punch that you're countering, you can throw, like, if you throw all lefts, you're going to get one extra hit in. You're going to get the same number of hits most of the time.
Exactly.
It's like the guy throws a hook, you get 4 punches in.
And it seems to follow like the energy drain. It seems like the first hit is a little bigger, and then the next three are like small lines, like
Yeah.
line.
And then later on, there are like different sort of formulas they follow.
Mm. I mean, the only one that you even have to really pay attention to is Mr. Sandman with his high, and then you got a body blow.
Yeah, so this guy goes down. Interestingly, what I read says that if you knock him down twice, he's knocked out automatically. And that's pretty much what I'm used to, is the second time I knock him down, he's out. But you have to score 10,000 points to win by decision against him. And it's also interesting as part of like the sort of puzzle aspect is that this is the guy that blocks everything, right? You only start with 10 hearts against him. So it's like designed like, oh yeah, we're going to give them as few hearts as possible and then take them away with every punch they throw
Mm.
because this guy's going to block.
He does present when you get fatigued. He changes his pattern up, and he presents an opportunity to get a star. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
But
he starts
you have
throwing
to
hooks.
exhaust yourself. And he throws that straight. He throws that straight like Glass Joe does, where he gives away his stomach for a second.
Yeah.
And you can catch his stomach.
Oh, that's the one. Okay.
I don't know why you want to torture yourself.
No, it's fun to
Like,
find the little openings where you can hit somebody.
When in his second form, you can do it a lot more consistently, but because he only really offered, like, you have to recover, you have to be tired, he has to change his pattern,
Mm-hmm.
you have to recover and have the opportunity and actually react. It's like hard.
Yeah. That's cool though. So this guy, we knock him out. He's a jerk. And we get to my first huge unbeatable wall when I was like a little kid. I couldn't beat King Hippo.
Yeah.
You had the same sort
Definitely.
of experience?
Yeah, he definitely was the first wall.
And I think they knew that because in the manual, they show like a few of the enemies. They show like 4 or 5 enemies, and one of them is King Hippo. And there's like a special note there that says you can get King Hippo to open up his guard and punch him in the stomach. But it doesn't exactly say how. And for some reason, when I was a kid, I like didn't notice the difference between his regular punches and his bigger punches where he lifts his hand over his head and opens his mouth. Like it just didn't compute that there was a difference between the punches he was throwing. And I feel so dumb like seeing it.
I mean, I think I went through the process of like it was that same process where it was like hard to read. And then my first was like, oh, you just have to punch him in the mouth because look, it takes energy every time you punch him in the mouth. And then my older cousins were like, I think you got to punch him in the X after because look at his belly.
Because it's got an X, marks the spot.
Yeah,
so you were just like hitting him once in the face and then dodge, really then hard. Once in the face.
Yep.
Oh my God, so tedious.
It was so hard too because I couldn't read anything that well. Like I wasn't reading. Like now I can read. Like he gives away his power punch every time because he like does a double bounce.
Yeah, he bounces, like he kind of vibrates his whole person up and down.
So like here's a huge tell. Like as a kid, I never picked up the tell, and the jab is strong that he throws and fast.
Mm-hmm.
So like it was always pretty hard. Even after I understood how to beat him, I always felt like he was a workout for me.
All of his punches are so strong. Like he hits you 3 times and you're knocked down. And it's funny because his record is 18-9 with 18 knockouts in the game. So they kind of represent like this dude is strong.
He's Butterbean.
Yeah, pretty much. He's Butterbean. He's from Hippo Island, which is the only place that isn't real. The others have been from Paris, Berlin, Tokyo, and Madrid. So yeah, you hit him, bust him in the stomach, and he goes down on his butt and he's knocked out immediately. And you can't beat him by decision.
Yeah.
So then we move on to someone who's just the opposite. Great Tiger. He was a huge wall for me also. Right after King Hippo, I was like, I finally conquered King Hippo. And then we got to Great Tiger and I was like, oh, now I can't beat this guy. Jeez. But interestingly, according to what I just read, you can't knock him out at all. No matter how many times you knock him down, he'll never be knocked out.
Oh, wow.
And you have to get 10,000 points to beat him by decision too.
I mean, he's another guy who pours stars if you know how to do it.
Yeah, well, he's sort of the same formula. He's the same sort of design as Von Kaiser.
Yeah.
He's like a reskin.
I mean, the easy stars you get from him, you know, with the body blows when he throws those uppercuts. But you can also get cheap stars if you watch his turban. It glows before he throws that quick jab. And you can punch in and steal stars.
Yep.
And then punch him and power punch him over and over again.
He's got that little gem.
Yeah, it's a tricky one because you really got to get the timing right. But he has stars galore. He goes from a wall to one of the fun ones. He becomes a punching bag.
Exactly. And he's got one of the most obvious like special moves.
It's a cool one. The special move when I was a kid used to give me fits because I would mistime the block.
Yeah.
I was like, how the fuck?
I don't even know. I think I've always tried to dodge, first of all. Like I said, I never tried to block when I was a kid. I always just wanted to dodge, and you can't dodge.
Yes.
Because like there's timing to this, and it's like a rhythm. Boom, 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 boom. But if you try to dodge, it's more like boom, 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 boom. It like the tempo is completely different. And he just smacks
because you get hit in the dodge, I think. Like
yeah, exactly. But it's at this point it's like relatively simple to block because you just hold down block, he hits you, and then you just press it again and hold it. You don't have to do it at the exact moment. So I don't know. We were just kids, right?
Yeah.
So he basically what he does, he disappears, he goes back, he like turns invisible and teleports back to the middle of the ring, and then goes in a circle around the ring, sort of in a blur, and just hits you over and over, anywhere from 3 to 10 times, something like that.
Yeah, I thought it was 5.
Oh, is it the same every time?
5. I thought, but I haven't looked it up.
And this one goes in the complete opposite direction with the hearts. Like Flamenco gave us 10, King Hippo gave us 9. This one you get 77 hearts. What?
I thought you were going to block a lot of those Great
77 of them? Oh my god. That is nuts.
I think you lose punches when you get hearts when you get hit.
Yes.
So maybe they thought you're going to block some tiger punches, get hit a lot.
Yeah, you lose 3 when you get hit and 1 when you get blocked or when you block.
Very generous.
Yeah, if I'm getting hit enough to get rid of the hearts, I'm already knocked out, I think. So the next guy, Bald Bull, another famous character. Now this guy, you were talking about how they seemed like so much larger than life and really imposing. Bald Bull was like a monster. I mean, I guess even Glass Joe was big and Von Kaiser was big. Then Piston Honda was like, oh, this guy's really big. And then King Hippo was like, oh, this guy's big and fat. But Bald Bull was like the whole screen, it felt like.
Mm-hmm. Felt like you couldn't hurt him. Like seemed like he had better defense
And he looked so
than
mean.
the other. And like Trickster, like he was more like a veteran fighter with Trickster. He looked like a real fighter a little bit with his spinning gloves jab and his hitch before he throws a hook.
Yep. He threw punches like a lot faster than everyone else. And I think he was the first person who would dodge your punches.
Yeah, he could dodge a super punch,
Yep.
but you could score some stars on him too. Mm-hmm. He spins those gloves. You can punch him in the face before he spins the gloves. And you can get him in the belly, I'm pretty sure, when he hitches before that hook that he throws.
Oh.
But those are hard to land.
Yeah, I bet. I don't even try. You also can't knock him out, and you also can't win by decision against him.
I think his bull charge used to, like the great, like anticipating the great tiger punch and the bull charge used to get in my head a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, you get all anxious when he backs up to the back of the ring. But there's a trick to it in this first fight. Do you know the trick?
Not sure.
So there's a guy in the background with a camera who takes a picture and it flashes in like the bottom right corner of the crowd. And if you press the button, just a regular body punch, right when that happens, or like a small amount of time after that flash, that's the proper time to knock him down.
That's hilarious.
I actually do it by sound. If I watch Bald Bull do the bull charge, I will mess up the body shot. But if I don't look at him, I just kind of like look to the side of the screen and listen. It's after like the third do, because he makes noise when he jumps down. He bounces down toward you. After the third one, you press the button and it's like 100% success rate.
That's funny.
It was really funny because I was playing recently. I was playing on my projector first, which doesn't have really special audio. And it was easy to do. Then I went to my TV, and the TV had equalization on that was like big sound, or whatever it's called, like big bass. And I tried to do it, and it messed me up. So I had to turn it to regular audio mode. And then once I did that, I was like, oh, I hear it better now. And
that's so funny.
Yeah.
I always do it by visual cue, but I feel like now that you mention it, it probably is visual audio combined.
Yeah, I wouldn't even be able to tell you where he was when I pressed the button. Like somewhere nearby where I think my fist can reach. I don't know. The sound is just so much more precise.
Yeah, that's hilarious that you could probably do it with your eyes closed.
Yeah, and that's not even a brag. It's so difficult to do with just my eyes that I have to use only my ears. And this guy, he's interesting too because any other fighter, if they're down until 9, they're going to be knocked out. Whereas Bald Bull like always gets up on 9. Yeah. He's like you said, he's the veteran fighter.
I feel like as a kid, it was always, I think the anxiety is always knowing that you had to beat the bull charge. Mm-hmm. You had to beat it to beat him.
Right.
And it was hard.
Yeah, if you knock him down the second time, he'll typically go straight to the bull charge.
Mm-hmm. And not stop.
Oh, well, does he stop doing it in the first one? Like if you dodge it?
He might, actually. He definitely doesn't in the second one. I feel like he might stop in the first one, but it might take like 2 minutes of the round.
Yeah.
And you can't win by decision, so it's like...
Right. So it eats up all your time that you would have had to be able to knock him out.
Yep.
Bald Bull. Dastardly opponent.
He's a tough one.
So I mentioned how he always gets up at 9. And that kind of brings me to another point that we didn't talk about, is that you can gain health back in this game in a few ways. One of them is if you're knocked down, you'll gain more of your stamina back the longer you stay down. So if you get up on 9, you're going to get probably your entire health bar back. And if you get up right away, which is what I would always do because I'm in a hurry, you get a lot less health back. Did you know that?
I didn't know that. No, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So like it helps to stay down until the end and then get back up. And then of course between rounds, if you press select, you can get health back when you come back for the following round. and you'll see Doc like shaking his hand faster.
Hmm.
And it's funny because
Yeah.
as a kid, I never knew exactly how that worked. There, I would try to like press it a lot or press it just once or hold it down, like trying to figure out the difference. And I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
there's no difference.
You mean like
How much
because
health you get
he would
back.
replace? Yeah. I mean, you think that thought it would be rather random.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's random. But I've tried every different way. I've tried doing it like, let me press select 3 times. Nope, that didn't, that only got a small sliver. Let me,
Yeah, it'd be disappointing when you got like a small sliver. You're like, wow, that sucked.
and then I would press it like a lot and I would get a ton. And they're like, oh, that's how you do it. And then the next time I would press it a lot and I would get a sliver. I'm like, what? There's no rhyme or reason to this.
Don't put yourself in that situation to rely on
Yeah,
Doc. That's the bottom line. Doc's
exactly. He's
worthless.
not a good motivator. Not a good cut man.
No, he's unpredictable.
Oh my goodness. So we beat Bald Bull. Now we're in the world circuit and we fight Piston Honda again.
Mm,
He's mostly the same, right?
I feel like the world circuits where you really have to. Now you got to start. I mean, Piston Honda has some wacky patterns,
Mm.
and he throws that he has weird patterns. He's still. You can get stars on him. He's just a turbocharged version of himself, though.
Yeah, he throws
I,
faster and more.
he definitely was beatable, but he pushed me to my limits after beating Ball.
Mm-hmm.
But it was more the next guy that was giving me Soda Popinski would give me more fits
Oh,
than
that's amazing.
Piston Honda.
Okay, well we'll get there in one sec, but that's really interesting to me. So Piston Honda, like what does he gives you? He does like a triple jab. He doesn't bounce across the ring when he starts up his piston punch. He just backs up and comes back at you way
Yeah, and
faster.
I don't think you can knock him down with it anymore.
You can.
I
It's
think he
just a
eats
much
it.
smaller window.
Mm.
Actually, there's an interesting trick to this fight. If you don't hit him at all you do is dodge until he does his piston punch, and then you hit him with that quick jab to the stomach, he'll go down for the 10. If that's the first time you hit him.
That's
But it's
hilarious.
such a narrow window this time, whereas before it felt like you had a lot of margin for error.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like there's times where I would connect on him, get a star, but he just keeps going with the piston punch anyway.
I feel like I remember that too in the past, but I didn't encounter that this time. Maybe it has to do with how much you've hit him that round, kind of similar to, like I said, if you don't hit him at all.
Yeah,
Interesting. That would be interesting to test.
yeah, I didn't. I stopped after Bald Bull on my most recent run, so wasn't really
Ah,
testing out the world circuit so hard.
got it. I like how he also does this fake out uppercut where he ducks down and then like switches from side to side a bunch of times.
Yeah, the boo 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 boo. He makes that weird noise.
Yeah. Oh, which reminds me, so this is interesting and we'll talk about it a little bit more later, but do you always dodge in the same direction?
Generally, yes. Sort of Popinski, no.
So which direction do you dodge?
I tend to dodge left.
Yeah, me too. I always dodge left. I guess because our thumb is more to the left. I don't know. Okay, so we get to Soda Popinski. Why is you dodge differently for Soda Popinski?
Yeah.
Interesting.
I mean, he's a left-handed fighter, pretty much.
He is a lefty. Yeah.
I think that's why I started doing mirror moves with him, and they just, for whatever reason, seem to work and make sense to me more so.
Seemed like you had a wider window to dodge.
Oh god, his tempo is a little funky. It's always been a little funky and annoying at times.
Yeah, so he doesn't have a special move, but his tempo is definitely the most irregular that we'll see coming up to this point. Like most of the other ones get into a rhythm, right? It's a rhythm, like dodge now, dodge now. He'll hesitate a lot more.
I mean, he does have that weird little 3 jab sort of special move where he like makes that weird noise.
Mm-hmm.
It usually comes out when you're tired.
Yeah, he'll try to hit you with that really fast jab. But I feel like he was always, maybe not always, but I liked fighting him more than most of the characters because I thought he was easier. I think his telegraphs were longer. Like he would turn to the side for much longer before throwing that hook, or duck down before
Yeah,
throwing the uppercut. So I always felt like I had a long window to react to him.
I think I would react like so. Piston Honda was making you dodge faster, and then he kind of makes you like you should wait like a half beat longer,
Oh,
and I
like he
would always
dodged too
dodge
early.
early. Yeah,
Got it.
he's slow. Yeah, he's like the changeup.
Yeah, yeah,
Changeup guy, but then
exactly.
his uppercut's sneaky though. He sneaks that uppercut though, real fast sometimes. His hook is super slow though.
Yeah. Interestingly, I was saying that I think he's easy, but it has that irregular pattern which counters what I said was easy. And they also only give you 8 hearts. So you get tired faster.
Yeah.
But
He's not really one that you like. If you're on point, you can smoke him without him blocking anything though.
I like.
He's also very counterable too, which I only figured out later.
Oh, really? So tell me about this, because I was going to say that I barely ever try to get counters on him.
That annoying ass long left hook he throws, I'm pretty sure you can throw the right uppercut.
Oh, okay.
Before he throws it out. And then sometimes when you do that quote unquote effective punch you're talking about, where it's like a delayed punch on his uppercut, you steal
Yeah.
a lot.
That I definitely notice when you like hesitate on the last shot.
He dodges your power punches though. He's shifty. All the world guys are kind of shifty.
I love that he's pink. He's just like not a normal color. He's such a funny character. He's my favorite character in the game, actually.
Yeah, he's a
just
cool
because
one.
he's also a different template. Popinski and Macho Man are kind of the same, but at this point, he's like the last. This template is introduced the last.
Yep, you haven't seen.
He's like tall and lanky, but like super tiny waist and big shoulders, and kind of like wobbles his way in.
Those hooks are very distinct. It's a goofy looking hook.
He's like doing a hula hoop to throw his hook.
Yeah, right? It's a weird looking hook.
One thing I really like about him is that you can get these super speed punches in on him for whatever reason. I don't know how it works. I thought it was like when you dodge fast, because you can either dodge by pressing the dodge button or dodge and then press back to the opposite direction to step back in, or dodge and then immediately press up to punch, and you'll quickly come back and go into the punch.
Yeah.
I thought it might have been when you do that, when you go like left up punch, but it seems to be a little random.
Yeah, it's weird how it seems to only happen on certain characters, like certain fighters. Like you get it with Don Flamenco in the minor circuit, and you'll start out fast. And then it'll slow down halfway through when you're doing the left, and you're like, all right. which makes it a little trickier, too.
Yeah, it's a little weird. I wonder if it's accidental, like if it's just like a consequence of some coding thing, or they put it in there on purpose to, I don't know, represent something, like you're getting amped up or you're getting tired.
It would have been neat if it was consistent across all of them.
Yeah, like you could make it happen when you wanted to.
Yeah, like if it was a reward for like what you were describing, like a speed dodge or like a perfect dodge, and then your perfect timing on your counter.
But I don't think so. So Soda Popinski, you can beat him by decision with 10,000 points, and you have to knock him down 5 times. And Soda Popinski, interestingly, was originally called Vodka Drunkinski.
Yeah.
And then they changed it.
I think in the arcade version, he's Vodka Drunkinski.
Do you think it was because of like racism, or because they didn't want to present alcohol to children?
Yeah, I think that's more what it is.
Children.
Yeah, it gotta be more kid friendly. I think there's an explanation. I'm pretty sure there's an official explanation. I can't remember it anymore, but I think that's more so. It wasn't even the stereotyping Russians. I mean, they're stereotyping like every country. I mean,
yeah, everything was stereotyped back then.
The German people are ultra tough. Freaking, they make Piston Honda a samurai.
Yeah, he just screams a bunch of Japanese words at you
Hmm.
in
I know,
between.
like a lunatic.
So we beat Soda Popinski in his weird tempo and funny face and pink skin. And we go back to Bald Bull, who's like legitimately tough at this point. But you
Hmm.
can beat him by decision. 5,000 points. Yeah, now he's super fast.
I mean, and the other thing is you can't knock him out with just a regular punch. You can
Right.
only knock him out on the bull charge or a super punch.
You need to super punch him, which was really weird as a kid. I remember hitting him and he's got 0 health. I'm
And it
like,
comes back.
okay, and now it came back.
I mean, but the only saving grace is he gives you an opportunity to get a star with this stupid moment where he just like does this high low guard, but
Yep.
you can't. You can hit him anywhere.
Yeah, he'll give you a lot of hearts. I mean, a lot of stars just through, a matter of course as you punch him. Like, he'll just get
Hmm.
more of the opportune stars. And then
Yeah,
he'll, like, give you that moment when you knock him down or when he knocks you down, I think, right afterward. He'll just go into that and sometimes in the
yeah,
middle of the round. That's always a good opportunity to super punch him, too, because he'll dodge your super punches a lot.
yeah. Yes, that's super annoying. He'll sometimes I feel like you'd have the knockout, he'd dodge the super punch so you don't get the knockout, and then he'll go right into the bull charge. You're
Ugh.
like,
And you
oh,
just wasted like your opportunity to get the knockdown without having to deal with the bull charge.
yeah, exactly.
So annoying.
You're like,
He's like, you're not knocking me out. You got to beat this punch to do it.
and he does this sometimes the half bull charge, or he doesn't go all
Oh,
the way up to
yeah.
the
That's if you dodge the uppercut, he'll go to the middle.
word.
And there's no trick on this one. There's no more flash in the audience.
So
Got to
you
go
just
by
gotta
sound.
read and react. He wasn't one that I got super stuck on.
Yeah, especially since you're kind of used to his just the way he fights. It's just
Yeah, the bull
faster.
charge wasn't the great mystery by that point, so it was like, all right, bring your bull charge on. It was more the star thing that was throwing me off. You're like, ah, God, this is weird. You get nervous that you're not gonna have a star.
Yeah, exactly. So we put him down, he's knocked out, and now we face Don Flamenco the second time. And this is the Don Flamenco I hate even more than the first Don Flamenco.
Yeah.
How do you feel about this guy?
He's tricky, and I think the lesson that I learned to not be afraid of him anymore was don't be afraid to, because he gets into these moments where he won't throw anything and just block your punches. And
Mm-hmm.
you're just like, all right, let me rush to exhaustion. And then he opens up, and then you're like, all right, let me dodge, and then kick his butt. That was the trick. And then later, now I understand how to get stars on him. They're hard because he's fast, but you can kind of smoke him now. Now that once you figure out how to counter him and steal stars from him, he's very smokable. But he's a pain in the butt a little bit. He was always a challenge.
So he throws that left jab where he sort of like winds up and jabs. It's kind of like a slow
Mm-hmm.
delivery. And then he's got his right hook that's a lot
Mm-hmm.
faster, it seems. And this is the guy who I decided just 2 days ago, what if I dodge right? Because I felt like he throws that left jab, and I'm like, okay, I have to just hesitate a little bit because this is a punch that I would tend to dodge too early, and I would already be back by the time the punch landed in my face. And then that hook, his right hook, I would dodge, and he would catch me before I took the step. So then I decided to dodge to the right, and it felt like his hook wouldn't catch me.
Mm. He
Like I
he
was,
has a little bit of the Popinski off tempo,
oh yeah, definitely.
which is annoying.
So you're saying that you can get a lot of stars off of him,
Yeah, I feel like I've watched streamers like wreck him.
like off his
And
jab and his hook.
yep, both are
Oh
counterable.
wow,
I think you go to the body with the hook.
that's interesting. Oh, something I meant to say on Soda Popinski. Did I say it? I felt like you literally can't hit Soda Popinski in the body. Do you recall if you
I
can?
It's very possible. only on those jabs that he does when you're tired, and he goes and throws the quick 3 jabs. I think you can hit him in the gut then, but that
Okay.
I'm guessing because I can't. Now you say it, I can't see what his stomach, like what it looks like when he gets hit in the stomach. Like I can't. I'm like, damn, I don't even
Visualize the different animation frame.
Yeah.
Like the big flat bald bull stomach when you
Yeah, because they do different things.
Yeah. Or the scrunch of
Yeah.
Glass Joe and Don Flamenco.
Yeah, exactly.
I guess that's another thing we didn't mention is I love the knockdown animations. Depending on which hand you hit them with and whether it's their face or their body, they do different things.
Yep.
I really like Von Kaiser when you hit him in the stomach and he like frog bounces all the way back to the corner and falls down. It's one of my favorite ones.
Yeah. I feel like those animations have progressed and gotten more and more ridiculous with the newer versions.
Yeah, so Don Flamenco's tough. And this is the guy who I've beaten by decision more than any other fighter.
Yeah, I was going to guess Don Flamenco too. I'm not
surprised. Because he like stalls. He takes so much time. He does that taunting and you have to hit him like 4 or 5 times before he throws that uppercut.
That was exactly what I'm talking about. Like, instead of letting him stall, just exhaust yourself as fast as you can. And then he'll into the hooks. Yep, and then he breaks his own plan. Mm-hmm. But I used to make the same mistakes. I'm like, why isn't he punching? I'm punching him. I'll punch him once, wait forever. And he's just like not doing anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I learned a little trick for the next fighter that has really helped me, kind of in the similar vein. And I guess we're done with Don Flamenco. He's an asshole. Yeah. So next is Sandman, the scariest fighter.
Yeah. Definitely was the most excited to see what he looked like because I felt like he was the biggest mystery to me.
Well, he's the hardest to get to in the entire game. There's a code to get to Super Macho Man, a code to get to Tyson. But to get to Sandman every single time, you have to beat 1, 2, 3, 4 guys at least. Mm-hmm. If you start with Piston Honda. And it's like kind of some tough guys. Bald Bull and Don Flamenco were not easy back then, at least.
Like, I never remember seeing his image in any of the magazines. Like, he was straight up mystery.
Or they put his silhouette in a Nintendo Power.
Like, he was a mystery. Like, I never knew what he looked like until I finally got to him. And I was like, really? Interesting.
And then you're like, oh, he's Bald Bull. But way faster.
He's badass.
And meaner. From Philadelphia.
Probably harder than than Super Macho Man was.
Yeah. He is definitely harder than Super Macho Man to me. Because Super Macho Man is that same template of Soda Popinski that I kind of am able to deal with easier.
Yeah.
I feel like Tyson's harder than Sandman, but Sandman's still pretty hard.
Yeah, Sandman doesn't let you, like, you can't, I don't think you can beat him in the first round.
You might be able to. You have to force the tempo of the fight. The problem is only every other punch hurts him.
Yeah, and like the spin punch counter that works against Bald Bull doesn't work against him. You can't counter the spin punch.
It's just too fast.
He blocks you. He just blocks it. It's like, and then he blocks it and counters you. So it's like he's nasty.
Yeah. Luckily, he only does the sort of wind-up jab for a little bit at the beginning and then just sprinkles it in here and there. But once you get past that, he throws those double pump hooks.
Yep.
And I guess you said earlier, you have to, in order to like hit him, you have to hit him in the face once and then hit him in the body only.
Yeah.
But what you can do when he throws these hooks is instead of waiting for him, because he's another one who will delay, he'll like make you guess when he's about to punch. He'll pause for a long time.
Yep.
If you throw a punch, he'll dodge your punch and then go immediately into that hook. So if you're fast, which you're fast enough to do it, you throw the punch, he dodges you, you dodge right back, and then you go into punching him, and you're controlling the tempo there instead of
Mm,
waiting and guessing. And I once I
interesting.
started doing that, I was like, "Oh, I got you
That's
now."
that's a cool trick.
Yeah. What I still can't do though is dodge his midnight sleeper.
Well, yeah, that's what I've always been like. Is if I can dodge his uppercut, his power uppercut, I'll smoke him every time.
Yeah.
Damn, you get hit by it. I mean, the thing that's annoying is that the warning is so fast. Dude. It's just like a blink, and then he
Yeah.
goes. Woo, woo, woo.
I usually
It's
get hit
upper-
by the first one and then dodge the second two. But if any of them hit you, you can't retaliate.
yeah.
So
Have,
this is basically for people listening, it's just he stands there kind of doing his little shuffle, his dance, his regular routine, then he'll pause and blink and then immediately throw uppercuts that it doesn't even look like they're animated. It just looks like
yeah,
at one point he's standing still, in the next second he has thrown an uppercut. He's like the
they're
Matrix.
very fast.
And I used to dodge them. I remember, like, in my mind, dodging them and hitting him in the stomach like
Yeah,
15 times.
exactly.
But
You get the
this time,
wail on
I
him.
didn't dodge. I think I dodged all three of them once.
Damn. I mean, I think you need the good Nintendo control. Like, I'm not. I was using my Xbox control on my computer, and I wouldn't be confident.
I don't have
And
that excuse because I was playing on my NES.
mm,
So,
I would give it a shot on my
no
control.
excuses for me.
But
I
it's a
just,
type of attack that's so fast that like if you blink, you're gonna get hit. Like you can't
yeah.
blink. You have to keep your eyes open. Like that. That
Yeah.
level of.
I wonder if you have to do the dodge, then step back, then dodge, then step back, or if you can just press the dodge button and let Mac go on his own time.
Hmm.
You know, the
I think
fast
you're doing
dodge,
the. Yeah, I think you have to do the fast dodge.
right? And that gets tough.
Yeah, but
So he's really hard, but he's beatable.
yeah, that Midnight Sleeper's harder to dodge than Macho Man Spin Punch.
Yeah, you can't win by decision. You can knock him out if you knock him down 6 times, apparently.
Psh, good luck.
Right?
I feel like you get him 3 times in the second round because he's softened up by then, and you
Yeah.
gotta dodge that
So
Midnight Punch.
what I tried to do, and probably the way that I beat him this time, was I would get him almost down to 0 in the first round, and then like just willfully not hit him, so that the
Mm.
next round I could start off and have him knocked down in like
Set
10
up.
seconds
That's
to
hilarious.
start it off. Just it was a time
Very
management
strategic.
game. Yeah, this was the first guy that I actually lost to this
Mm.
this playthrough. So normally I could fly through the game, but yeah, coming back after a really long hiatus, Sandman got me a couple times. But then once I got to Macho Man, I just blew right through him. He was like even easier than I remember.
I was the same way. Like once I got past Sandman, Macho Man wasn't really a tough challenge for me. But there would be times where I would do like a full run, and
Hmm.
for whatever reason, like I would get knocked out by a stupid spin punch after running through everybody, and I'm like, what the hell? Like I usually beat him. Like I would
Mm.
have these mental blocks, or once in a while I would get smoked by the spin punch.
Yeah, he has two different types of spin punch, and there's the one he does like it's like a Texas tornado. He winds up. It's a big right hook basically, and he spins all the way around. And the one of them, he backs up first before he does it, and he'll do this punch and keep circling like anywhere from 3 to like 20 times. But the other one is the harder one, where he just kind of
Yeah,
hesitates a little bit, and then his body animation blurs a little, and he'll
yeah,
just
he
do a
blinks.
single one like out of nowhere. That one's a little bit harder to dodge.
Yeah, but that one doesn't knock you out. That one's like just a power punch.
Yeah. But I noticed this time, so he's got the same template as Soda Popinski, like we said. He throws those like kind of loopy hooks and the big uppercuts, and he telegraphs them, but he just moves faster. But I found that he was really easy to dodge everything, and he didn't break his tempo as much. He just had that
Yeah.
a little bit more speed, and he had the special punch to rely on. And it knocks you down automatically when he does the backup one.
Yeah, it's a one-hit quitter, and like if you lose to him, I feel like you get smacked back to like
Don Flamenco. Yeah, you have to go beat Don Flamenco and Sandman and Super Macho Man. I remember that.
So like when I would go on my runs sometimes and I lost to Macho Man, I'm like, I'm done.
Yeah.
This run's over.
All right, I played the game. Good enough.
Yeah, I'm not going to fight Tyson this time.
This time, though, I found that the tempo of that spin punch was just so easy. I was just like, again, with the sound, it's like, it makes the sound, and I'm just like, dodge, 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 let go, dodge, let go, dodge, let go.
When you would do the extended ones that were like an ass load of them, I feel like I sometimes just miscue it for some reason.
You just need a metronome. It's just literally a metronome. Boom, 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 boom.
Yeah.
But yeah, it used to get me. Like I would dodge the first few, and then I would sort of like, I guess maybe it's nerves. You get antsy or like you get stressed out and you press it too soon.
Yeah. Yeah, you just get out of sync. Or I felt like I was, even on those dodges, like even though I was dodging them, like I was slightly off.
Mm-hmm.
And like eventually by like the fifth time, it would be just off enough where I'd get clubbed.
Yeah, it's like when audio doesn't sync on two halves of a podcast,
Exactly.
which we were talking about before the show. But we beat Macho Man, and now we get in the newspaper, Little Mac is the champ. Some stories about Macho Man, and another story about Mario finding a key, and it's the password, which is really annoying because it's the password to fight Macho Man again. It's not the password to fight Tyson. There is no code to fight Tyson with your correct number of victories that I know of. It always, when you use the code, you already have your 0 and 2. So if you lose to him, you can't rematch. You just have to start over.
That stinks. I did not realize that.
But now we go on to fight Mike Tyson, 31-0, 27 knockouts. That's his record as of 1987, after he first beat Tony Tucker when he had just unified the WBC, WBA, and IBF titles. That's the Tyson we're fighting.
I've watched all three of those unifying belt fights. He was scary in all of them.
Yup. Literally the most dominating Tyson in history. That's who we're fighting.
Tucker gave him the most run for his money.
What we do know is that we can beat him by TKO. We can beat him by knockout. And apparently we can beat him by decision, and it only takes 5,000 points.
Nice.
Which is, I mean, if you make it to the end of the fight, you kind of deserve to win, right? And
yeah,
as little as you're able to hit him, too.
Yeah, that's maybe why it's 5,000. Because you can hit him on the dynamite punches, so I don't know.
Right, so for the first minute and a half of the first round, what do we have?
Hell. 90 seconds of very stressful dodging. Yep. I mean, it's like the midnight punch speed, but with one hit knockout power.
Yeah.
I mean, when I first fought him, I didn't even know you could land with those after the dynamite punches, and then I started seeing people hit him after the dynamite punch. I'm like, oh snap, you can even hit him. Because I think the first time I beat him, I didn't even punch him after the dynamite punches. I think I didn't start hitting him till he's chilled out.
Same. And then I learned pretty early on that you could hit him, and it was like a big revelation also. But yeah, in the beginning, it was just so stressful. All you wanted to do was not get hit. And it was like, you felt afraid, right? Just afraid of getting hit.
It was annoying. I mean, how many times you put in that password and you're done in 30 seconds, and you put in the password and you're done in 30 seconds. And then finally, maybe once in a while, you survive the dynamite round, and then you get smoked by every other thing he throws at you. It's a pretty grindy experience for a while.
Yeah. The thing about those uppercuts, so he throws the uppercut, it hits you for 100% damage, but at first it's pretty regular. Like he throws one, you dodge. He throws the next one, you dodge. Throws the next one, you dodge. But then it's like,
Yeah.
throws the next
Yeah.
one.
And then
And
he starts
and
changing.
sometimes I will have already dodged nothing 3 times before he throws the next punch.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Absolutely. You get all antsy like that. So
yeah,
annoying.
super like trigger happy on that dodge button.
Pretty smart programming.
Yeah. And then, of course, you dodge too early and he starts throwing the uppercut when you're halfway through the dodge and catches you right as you come back.
Because he puts you in that tempo, and then you're like, you want to fall into the tempo, but that's the worst thing to do.
Yeah. It's like real boxing.
Like read and react. Don't fall. Yeah, definitely.
Boxing is a lot of tempo management, getting your opponent to be doing what you want them to do when you want them to do it.
Well,
by having them set up to respond to what they expect from you.
Yeah, in MMA, I've heard it described as like striking off the beat.
Right. Just kind of messing with people's expectations.
Oh.
So that's what Tyson does to you. Oh, and also Mr. Dream. Mr. Dream from 1990 on.
I don't think I've ever fought Mr. Dream. I think I've only fought Mike Tyson.
It's just a palette swap. But yeah, then after that, he goes into these like crosses. They're like kind of hook crosses, and he blinks before. He like winks his eye on the hand that he's going to throw. And they're the same punch that Piston Honda throws in his piston punch, but like one at a time.
Super fast. Though.
And they're super fast, and they're really strong.
They don't knock you out in one punch, though.
And you can only get like 2 hits in between.
Yeah. But that's the quote-unquote easier form.
But the worst part is he'll mix in a dynamite uppercut.
Hell yeah.
And just smoke you.
Yeah, that's pretty cruel.
But the worst part, I think, even more so than the uppercuts, because you know what's starting the round, you're like, okay, I got to defend against these uppercuts. At some point in the fight, he'll stop moving completely and just start blinking his eyes for you get a free hit on him. But once you hit him, he'll go into basically a piston punch like Piston Honda, but at Tyson's strength. And it's like immediately after you hit him, you have to be ready to either block or dodge. And then after that, he'll finish it with a dynamite uppercut.
Doesn't he throw multiple jabs? Isn't it like repeated?
Yeah. He'll throw like 6, 7, 8 of them. Just beat you up. I mean, a lot of times you don't even know how many there are because you've already gone down.
Yeah, and his jabs are stupidly fast. They're so fast.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I couldn't really block them. I would give in and block. I mean, I couldn't dodge them, so I would just block them.
Yeah.
Block them, get tired, and then you throw the dynamite punch, and you have to dodge it while you're pink, basically.
Yep. They have no way to fight back. But he's beatable. I've beaten him a bunch of times. There was one point in my life where I could beat him pretty much every time. Nice. It was like when I was, 20, 18, 19. Right at the end of high school, beginning of college, that time.
I feel like I watched one of your sister's friends beat him at your house, and then I was like, I got it. I got it now.
That was Mark Boxford.
Once he kind of opened it up for me, I was like, now.
That's when we learned that you could punch him. We learned that at the same time together.
Yep.
I remember that at the room at the top of the stairs.
I think that was the first time I ever watched somebody beat him, too.
Yep. Me too, because there was no internet.
Yeah, and that was it. Once I watched it, I had the template, and it was kind of game over from there.
Yeah. Same.
But it was always it was never a fun experience. It was a grindy, hard. It was a bitch. I never got to that point like in my 20s where I was doing it on the regular. I think all the time trial stuff that you got to do in Super Punch-Out, and on like all the little tricks you unlock to being more efficient, they actually applied to regular Punch-Out. So I feel like after I was time trialing Super Punch-Out and learning like super efficient ways to handle that, I brought it back to regular Punch-Out and was like, oh, that's where I unlocked like all the stars and all the countering. I really didn't see the game like that when I was a kid and beat it the first time through.
Yeah, you didn't see like the template or the script of the
Only
fight,
part of
basically.
it. Only what was necessary, because I still was able to beat it with that like narrow view
Yeah.
understanding of it. All you need to do was dodge and counter, dodge and counter. It literally is the winning formula.
Super Punch Out, though, I feel really refined it.
Oh man, that game is awesome.
Yeah.
He did
So
an
would you say
awesome
Super
job.
Punch Out is better than Punch Out?
Yeah, definitely.
We actually have a comment about this for this show. Super Punch Out is better. Don't at me. that's from One Wing, also known as Matt, talking
Yeah,
about Punch
see?
Out.
Oh, he agrees.
Yeah.
Yeah, Super Punch Out is just, it's excellent, like outstanding in that game.
Yeah. We both got super into Super Punch Out. You owned that one though. You
Yeah.
had that like right from its release, I think, right? Pretty
Mm,
early on.
I can't say when I got it. I don't really.
I guess we weren't aware of release dates when we were kids, right?
Yeah, but it wasn't one of those games where I was anticipating and had any expectations for. Honestly, it just was a pleasant surprise that turned into like an absolute gem.
Oh, got you. Was it like a Christmas present or something, birthday present, or you sought it out?
I really can't remember.
Mm.
I would guess it was a birthday present, or I don't know why. It wasn't that highly sought after. It wasn't like other games where I was like waiting before they were released
Yeah, it
and
didn't
there
have
was,
that pre-release Nintendo Power coverage like some other games maybe.
yeah.
But overall, so you like Super Punch Out better, but Punch Out 1, I feel personally that it's one of the best Nintendo games as far as holding up over the years. Because
Yeah,
playing it still feels good. It feels responsive. It feels like right. You know, you play a lot of those old Nintendo games, and it feels almost like you're using the controls, and the controller is under a vat of molasses or something. Whereas this is more crisp. What about you?
yeah. I mean, it's not fair to compare it to Super Nintendo within the context of the Nintendo. Definitely one of the best Nintendo games, and like you said, it still has the staying power. Yeah, I would say the play control is pretty good. I mean, the fact that you revisited it multiple times, like I
Mm-hmm.
did, and there's still like layers to it is pretty impressive. Although a lot of games are like that, but it's cool because most Nintendo games that are still appealing for me at least are like more in the RPG world
Mm-hmm.
where there was a lot of like hidden depth. But this is like more of an action oriented game, and it still had a lot of depth to it, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. I like how it presents, it's obviously a boxing game. So like it presents that it's a sports game or an action game or a combat game, a fighting game, whatever. But it's also kind of a rhythm game and it's kind of a puzzle
Mm,
game, which I
yeah,
think is really cool.
funny to call it a rhythm game, like Beat Saber. It's got a Beat Saber Guitar Hero aspect to it.
Yep.
I never thought about it, but yeah. And also, the graphics and the characters are badass. And they're like, it's a really early Nintendo release. And
True.
like, most of the earlier Nintendo games are pretty ugly. Like, they killed it. They did a really good
Yeah.
job with the characters.
Yeah, each character is like larger than life, really distinct, really just interesting to look at.
Yeah,
You know,
they
it's
look
got
good.
they're very big, so they can put a lot of detail and give a lot of attention to like all the lines and stuff. And
I
there wasn't a
mean,
lot of other stuff on the screen. I think that helps a lot too.
definitely. I'm sure that was part of the trade off. Like, we can give you a giant sprite, but that's about it.
That's all we
I
need.
mean, animation is hard to do. Like, their animation, some movement. I mean, think about the contemporaries for that like time. Like, you're looking at like Mario 1 and like Kung Fu and Excite
Mm-hmm.
Bike, and those kind of
Yeah.
games are all ugly. I mean, I guess Bubble Bobble looked a little clean. That was an earlier game.
Yeah, I guess this isn't, it doesn't look like pixel art. It's like
Yeah,
drawings. That's the
exactly.
difference. Everything else is like a few blocks represents a character. This is like the pixels are not the bulk of the design. The pixels are the lines that they've drawn.
Mm,
Yeah. Great
yeah,
game. All right, so that's
definitely
Punch
good
Out,
one.
man. We did it. We beat Mike Tyson. He's
Mhm.
31 and 1 with a loss to Little Mac. All right, so where can people find you? We talked about it a little bit. Let's say it again.
Oh, I guess you can find me on Twitch at Second Lieutenant N. I don't know. I don't really stream that much, but that's the only place that I'm really on a public forum.
Okay, cool. Okay, well, thank you so much again for coming on.
It was a pleasure, Ed.
Maybe we'll get you on for a future episode.
No doubt, man. It's been fun talking some Mike Tyson's Punch Out.
And that wraps up another episode of Smashing Bricks, a retro gaming podcast. Thanks for coming along on another trip back in time as we talked about Punch-Out for the Nintendo Entertainment System. If you recently played Punch-Out, or if this episode has inspired you to revisit the game, drop me a line with your thoughts via the voice messaging feature on the podcast's Anchor page, anchor.fm/smashingbricks, or on Instagram at smashingbricks or Twitter at smashing_bricks. Also, feel free to leave comments on prior episodes' games and get yourselves ready to join in on our next episode when I'll be talking with returning guest Anthony Gnagnarelli about the Super Nintendo platformer Donkey Kong Country. I personally have very fond memories of this one, and I expect it to be a great show. Thank you all once again for listening, and if you do like the show, take a minute to leave us a rating and a review on iTunes or whatever platform you're listening on. It'll really help us to get the word out about the show existing. Anyway, until next time, may the nostalgia be with you.